Similarly, there are a couple lists of styles that you see in other places in the program. So for example, textiles. These textiles, blue wave, blush, brushed metal, calligraphic, you should recognize these because you saw these. If we have a text object and we select that text object and we, for example, go to the HUD, or it's also available in the inspector, this little pop-up menu here, this shows that same list of textiles. So all of the textiles, you can access them here from the menu here. Of course, they're also in the inspector here, same list there. Or if you wanted to just drag and drop, I could go to the library, take one of these textiles and drag and drop it onto my text object, and it applies the text style. And this is another way of accessing that same list of effects. So all of these are the same text styles that we were looking at in that other list, but here we can apply them just by dragging and dropping them from here. The same thing with shape styles. And the shape styles, these are mainly, they're called shape styles, but they're mainly like path styles. They mainly affect the line. We covered this back in the lesson 102, the shapes lesson, but here you see we can do the same thing. And again, if we had a shape here, we could choose from that shape style pop-up. And in that pop-up, you have abstract, fauna, flora, garnish, and so forth. All those same categories right here: abstract, flora, fauna, garnish, and so on. Here you can get another preview. So, for example, you know, the people in line, the light streaks in here, and you see that one advantage is you can see how these things look like animated, right? And again, to apply it, you would just drag and drop it onto a shape, and then that shape, if I press play, there you see the shape is inherited that shape style. And you can do that with any shape, paintbrush strokes, Bezier shapes, and regular shapes. All those can be applied with shape styles. Similarly, you have the gradients, and the same idea. Here is the list of little gradients. And you saw this same list. If I just, let's just go ahead and make another object real quick. And if I made this object and I changed the outline style, or changed the face of that, let's go to the inspector, to the face, and change that to a gradient. You remember this pop-up here, the pop-up Atlantic Blue, Beachfront, Bilbao. These are the same thing, but here again, you don't get to see what they look like. You have to pick it by the name and guess if that's what you want. If you go to the library, you can see that list over here, and then we can just drag and drop that on there, and that's going to apply that gradient style to the selected object. So it's the same idea. So these are all things that you have access to other places in the program. And lastly, fonts. It's the same font list that you see in the pop-up over here. If you select your text object, you can choose from your fonts here. You can do the same thing by looking at individual fonts here and then dragging and dropping them on, and that will apply the font to the text object. That's one case where I don't see a whole lot of advantage to using a list over here, because if you look over here, we can dynamically see that font change. Well, let me move that out of the way there. You can see that font change dynamically as I'm walking through the different font styles. Whereas over here in the library, we'd have to go and pick something and then see the preset up there and then drag and drop it. And that's a lot more tedious and a lot less efficient. So these are all examples of things that you can find other places in the program, but they're also listed here in the library.